Hey everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, personal development, helping people, and all the things it takes to help you live a strong, joyous life. I have as my guest today, Megan Doehring? Doehring, okay, Megan Cope Doehring.
Yes.
And Megan is a certified transformation coach. And you can find her on Facebook, facebook.com, MC Doehring. And you can also email. And what's your email?
MC Doehring, that's Doehring @yahoo.com.
Awesome. And Megan lives in Pepperell, my next door neighbor. And so I found you through our social networks and wanted to get to know you better, see how we can help each other, and also just let people know about the fun nutrition things that we do. So,
thank you. I love this. I love that you do this and that you have people like me on to talk about it.
Oh, great.
Love helping people.
Yep. So, a little bit about you. You live in Pepperell. I saw something on your Facebook. You have 5 kids.
5 kids. When I got married in 2000, my husband already had 3 teenagers.
Okay.
And then we had 2 together. I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son.
Very nice. And you have pets.
We have pets, 2 crazy cats and a crazy wild 1-year-old German short-haired pointer.
Oh yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, oh, they're so cute.
They're cute,
and
they're crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of work. They're like having more kids. At
Toddlers.
first I thought that those were your additional kids.
Well, they are.
So you really have 5, 6, 7, 8 kids.
I do.
And then you have a husband.
Exactly.
So how did you get into nutrition and coaching? And usually people don't start there. From my experience, something happened in their life that moved them into paying attention to their health and then wanting to teach it and help others.
Right. So 5 years ago, I had a breast cancer diagnosis. I had lobular carcinoma in situ. It was a scary time.
Yeah.
I found out I was very fortunate because it wasn't ductal like they originally thought, but it was in almost 90% of my one breast. I had something else in the other side, so I needed to have a lot of surgery. So I opted to have a double mastectomy with reconstruction, and that sort of propelled things for me. So this is my story. So this is when I got finished the Live Strong program at the YMCA. I was regaining strength, but I did not feel well.
This was after your breast cancer?
This was after healing.
Okay, yeah.
This was after healing.
Yeah.
And then through the process of that, eating comfort food, but not well, I did not feel well. I had gained a little bit of weight. My midsection didn't feel good. Then I came across the program that I'm now a coach for, and that changed everything for me. Proper nutrition, balanced nutrition. So that helped me get back to, that dress happens to be a special dress for me. That was my engagement dress, and then on our honeymoon to Hawaii, and I hadn't worn it in quite a few years.
Yeah.
And then this was a year later, still maintaining my weight, still continuing to improve my health with exercise and strength training, and just living a better life as what I call myself, a survivor.
Now, did you study nutrition previous to this? Is that your career previous to this?
No.
What were you doing before?
So I graduated from college and I worked for an oil company in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I did that for almost 10 years. I was in wholesale fuel sales.
Okay.
That's how I met my husband, who at the time was working for a large oil company, Exxon, and that's how we met.
Okay.
Then when we got married, he was living in Charlotte. I was still in Pennsylvania. So I moved to Charlotte with him. And I'd always been interested in the pharmaceutical industry because I grew up with many people in Merck, Sharp and Dohme and just different companies like that.
Yeah.
That's where we lived. And so I thought, well, now it's my time to give that a try because I was interested in helping people.
Yeah.
So I was a pharmaceutical rep for 3 years.
Okay.
And then we moved up
I'm curious, for what drugs were you?
So I was
kind of drugs?
with cardiology. So I was doing blood pressure medications.
How interesting.
And then was learning, it was right before some of the lipid reducing before we introduce that one.
Yeah.
So I know you don't necessarily like to mention because you don't want to advertise for them.
Right. You can, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so, right. So a lipid lowering medication.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my husband moved up here for work.
Yeah.
And then we came up here, and it was our third move in less than 3 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
At the time, my 15-year-old stepdaughter was living with us, and I had a 1-year-old. And he was traveling. So I wasn't going to reinvent myself again that quickly. So I just came up here and started my stay-at-home mom career.
Okay. And that's when you got sick?
So at a few years later, I got pregnant with our son, who is now 14.
Yeah.
And during the course of that pregnancy, I had gestational diabetes.
Okay.
So there's another thing for me to, what's up with that, right?
Yeah.
So of course, everything was fine. He was a very healthy baby, 7
Were you
pounds.
aside from the fact that you were pregnant, were you overweight during this?
Never.
All right. So
Never.
you got overweight when you got
well, 21 pounds is all I lost, so I was never technically overweight.
Yeah, but more weight than you wanted.
More weight than I
21
wanted.
pounds is a lot of somebody as tiny as you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. When you look at what 5 pounds of fat looks like, or 4 pounds of sugar,
Or you pick up 20 pounds and carry it with you everywhere you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, for someone your size and my size, it's a lot of weight.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So it felt really good to get that off of me.
Yeah.
But the things that brought me to that were I knew I had a sugar problem, a huge sugar problem.
What do you mean sugar problem?
So because I had gestational diabetes when I was pregnant with my son, the doctor kept a check on my A1C numbers every year, and they were creeping up.
So it wasn't that you were addicted to sugar when you said you had a sugar problem. Your body wasn't metabolizing it well.
I would say I was addicted to sugar.
Oh, yeah?
However, I know that that's controversial. So, but I call myself I'd like to say reformed sugar addict, but again, I have already said that with my clients and with my fellow coaches when we talk about it, because there's others of us who have sugar problems. I have to be very careful if I get that taste, because sometimes all it takes is that taste to want more. So I choose to say no to sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say no to sugar, what kind of?
White processed sugars.
Like bread, pastries?
So pretty much. I stay away from all of that. Yeah. Instead of pasta, I'll have, spaghetti squash.
Yeah.
It's the sauce I like better anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know a lot of my clients, when I mention the word sugar, they go to candy or donuts or things like that, and they don't recognize some of the other processed food as sugar. For example, some of the sugary cereals or anything with a label on it. So, that's nice to be a little bit more clear. I know there's some gray area in there too, but still, just how much. And I think I saw something you posted about white sugar in particular. When we're getting an overdose, it's basically like a drug. It's been put into like a drug form because it's so concentrated now.
Right.
Yeah. So what happens from your understanding, what happens when you have all that sugar beside that you want more? It tastes like more.
So what happened through the process of time, I got all the way up to pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Was I would make cookies for my children.
Yeah.
I would reduce the amount of brown sugar and white sugar because we know there's way more in it than necessary.
Yeah.
But as they were coming out of the oven, I could not control myself.
Yeah.
Of course, I would not do that in front of my children.
Yeah.
So I knew there was a problem. And then when I was recovering from my double mastectomy, I was eating a lot of sugar and comfort food.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know why we call it comfort. Pastries, brownies, bread,
Yeah.
pastas, because I also, that was what was easy. We were eating what was easy rather than what was good for us because we also didn't know any better.
Yeah, and we can't be, that's why I like to tell people, it's not your fault because you didn't know. You can't know what you didn't know, and there's a lot of conflicting information. I want to say something about comfort food, though. I have a theory about why we call it that. I think at some level we're uncomfortable. We're in, I sometimes pain or sometimes just not comfortable. It might be having to have a difficult conversation or just fatigue, but it's because the sugar, the food acts like a drug, and it could even be a big old sweet potato if it's a big heavy dose of sugar in that too. It serves to comfort, to calm us, and it works at the moment.
Right.
But then you want more very shortly afterward.
Right.
So I think it's a good name for what it does at the moment and why it's so hard to break it.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had to get tough with yourself.
I did, but like there's so much conflicting information out there. I didn't even know what the tough was going to be.
Yeah.
You know, I tried other programs, but if I wasn't learning anything, I was going right back to my old habits.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I did try one program. I did lose some weight, but I went right back to eating because I just dieted.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't solve anything. That
Yeah.
didn't solve my sugar. That didn't make me feel any better about myself. It was temporary. Then I came across a picture on Facebook of somebody I went to high school with. And she showed a picture of what she was able to do in 30 days of eating differently, proper balanced nutrition, eating 6 times a day, and she melted. And she felt better.
Yeah.
And she felt good enough about herself to just put a picture up to offer hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I went, I need to know more about that.
Yeah. That's so powerful.
And that started my journey. I got connected with my now coach because I have still a health coach, and she's somebody I went to junior high with, of all those things. So I started learning and changing everything, eating 6 times a day, small amounts of balanced food, healthy, lean and green meal, you know, with proper portion size. Come on, the last 30 years with all this supersizing the world has done to us, we don't even know how much to eat anymore. So I was eating 7 ounces of cooked cod with 3 servings of green vegetables and started feeling so much better so very quickly.
What were some of the non-scale victories that you've noticed, things that you know, I know the scale is important to a lot of people.
Right.
But it sounds like that was secondary too.
Very much so. I mean, getting back into the clothes that I was almost going to have to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because I was at the point where I was going to have to go up 1 more pant size, because for me it was coming right to my middle.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that because also my middle did not feel good.
What do you mean?
Like
digestive issues?
I have gastric
reflux.
Right, thank you. And I am very sensitive to certain foods, even tomato sauce. I just have to be careful with it, even if it is low sugar.
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful with those kinds of things, even broccoli.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love broccoli, so I still eat that. But yeah, it was just knowing how different foods were affecting me. And what I really loved was going through this process, learning what I learned, losing the weight, fitting back into the clothes, and even going down a size. Biggest non-scale victory was fitting back into that dress.
Yeah,
right?
It's a beautiful dress.
Thank you. I love that dress.
I love the colors too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was what I learned. And then when I would eat something that I had learned was no longer good for me, I did not feel good. My body tells me. So for example, now when I say, I know that we don't have enough willpower. Nobody has enough willpower. It's not about that, right? It's more about retraining our habits and learning why that's important and why that's important to us, really personalizing it. And then from there, just keying into that.
It sounds like you really were able to get to sort of a reset, or almost like a detox from the old lifestyle and foods and other things around it, so that you could notice. Because if you feel like crap, right, from this, and this, it's hard to tell what's causing it.
You don't know how good you can feel until you change it and eat the way we were made to eat and fortify our bodies. But now I have found that if I decide, okay, I'm going to have a cookie, because I can eat anything I want.
Yeah, language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
But if I choose to have that cookie or even just a couple of bites, sometimes I have a problem throwing it away.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find the best thing to do is to throw it out, or altogether just go, I'm not going to do that today.
Yeah.
because we have some good foods that we can eat that will scratch that itch, if you will.
Yeah.
That doesn't require me eating something that wasn't made in my best interest.
Yeah. That's great. Now, I bet you do some other things that, again, are support the bigger picture that aren't food specifically when you're working with clients or even in your own life. Things like stress or time management or sleep. What are your thoughts on those kinds of things?
So our program has a really great training program. We go into the macro habits and the micro habits. So it's really important because if we have a lot of stress in our life and cortisol is being released, our body's really going to fight losing weight.
Let's define some of that for our listeners. So let's
Yes.
talk about what's the difference between a macro and a micro habit. Habit, or was that what you said, habit?
Habit.
Yeah.
So with habits, I mean, you're talking about, like you said, time management.
Yeah.
Or stress, or sleep, or water drinking, or exercise, whether it be whether we're going out and going for a run or working out at a gym, or whether we're just doing things where we're constant in motion, we're like not sitting, where we might be standing, and then burning extra calories.
So what's the macro or the micro? How do you define those things? I was a little confused by that.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more of a difficult question.
So macro would be like a more longer range thing versus a smaller habit or a small piece? Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then we can work on those things.
Got it.
So if, for example, somebody doesn't drink enough water,
Yeah.
instead of saying, well, no, you have to drink 64 ounces,
Yeah.
we don't do that. We just say, well, can you drink 8 more ounces?
Yeah.
Small buildups.
Yeah.
Like if they don't get enough sleep, well, do you think you could get 15 minutes extra?
Yeah.
And so it's about baby steps
Yeah.
to make the bigger changes, because nobody can ever, we don't eat an elephant all at once. We take one bite at a time.
Right.
So that's how it is with working with all of our habits, because we can either let our habits run us, or we can work on our habits to help our habits, run our habits instead.
There's a whole science to habit change. James Clear has a book called Atomic Habits, which is wonderful, and he talks about the law of creating a new habit or breaking a bad habit. And a lot of it has to do with set the bar low. If you're trying to eliminate, make it satisfying, it's got to feel good. So if you set for your goal to have 8 more ounces a day than what you had this past week, so maybe you're still only at 50. You're only getting 1 more glass in, but you feel like I did it. I succeeded rather than failing. So that's what keeps the momentum going. I've read something about how Amazon has that one-click thing when you buy, and they sued, I think, Barnes & Noble over this. Because they were trying to do the same thing, or whatever companies they were, but I know it's definitely Amazon with the one click. And it made that much of a difference because it removed the friction of buying. So when you're trying to create a habit, that's why you can't just say, I'm going to go in and my goal today is lose 5 pounds this week. I'm like, that's not a goal, that's an outcome. Right. So yeah, I love when I hear coaches talk about those really tiny
little wins.
Yeah, little wins. They add up big. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We need those non-scale victories along the way, or it's the elephant as opposed to the bite.
Yeah. So what do you do with your clients around stress? I know you mentioned cortisol, and a lot of times I'll see.
So we have webinars and things in our books that talk about that, because it's not about, we can't control the stress, we can only control how we respond and react to it.
Yeah.
So it's more of the mind piece.
Yeah.
And that's individual for everybody, because there is no cookie cutter program for any individual person. We have to talk about it and what's going on in that situation, and because you can't eliminate the stress unless you quit a job or something along those lines.
Then you'll have no money, so you still have stress.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you work with people around that. So somebody might come in and say, Megan, I want to lose 20 pounds or 50 pounds, whatever. and you'll outline some eating plan for them, but then they'll talk to you. Maybe they'll just incidentally bring up that they have stress. So you'll redirect them into that conversation then.
Well, we talk about that because I then will ask them, well, do you think you're a stress eater? Does that trigger eating?
Yeah.
Because not only could the cortisol make it hard for them to lose weight and start sabotaging them, how do they process that in their mind? Are they paying attention to what they're doing when they're picking up food? Are they eating because of stress?
So how do you help them change that? Like what kinds of strategies do you use to help people with that?
We do have, like I said, the webinars that we'll key into, but just encouraging them to, well, what is it that you enjoy doing? Spend some time doing that, even if it's just breathing. Take some deep breaths. Redirect your focus. And like I said, it really does depend on the individual.
Yeah, so you'll see, as you get to know the person that you're working with, you really try to find out, their situation and then customize something for them. Like if you know me, I like hockey, so it would be fun for me to go and, get out and go skate or go rollerblade or something like that would be, a distraction,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Play with their kids or their dog or
Yeah.
anything along those lines.
Yeah. So what are some of the success stories that you've seen, people who you've worked with or seen incidentally that like changes in their lives besides yourself? Your story itself is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So again, with our clients, we really do focus on the non-scale victories because that we want to focus on things that are sustainable and really key into those kinds of things. Of course, ultimately, they want to lose a certain amount of weight, and depending on their health situation, that's really important. So a lot of my clients start feeling better within the first week as they've detoxed out the extra carbohydrates and sugars that are in their body and start really realizing what the better nutrition feels like. I have one client who, and results not typical, she has fibromyalgia. And because she totally changed the way she was eating, she's in a lot less pain today than she's been in 12 years.
Wow.
I have clients who have diabetes because they do have some health issues that come along with weight.
Right.
And no, we always direct our clients back to their doctors because we are not medical experts. We direct them back to their doctors, but if they're told by their doctor to check their blood on a daily basis and see where their sugars are and then know how to dose their diabetes, I've had clients within the first week already not needing to take or lowering their diabetic medicine and feeling better because their blood sugars are controlled.
Yeah, it happens pretty quickly. Huh?
I have people who are able to put their wedding rings back on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's amazing.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's fabulous. Every day I get to hear stories like that.
Yeah. I could see it in your face, that how you're proud of people, but that know that you've really made an impact on somebody's life to give them a better quality of life.
Well, I just wouldn't have felt right keeping this to myself after I realized what I did for myself.
Yeah.
Because I really do feel like it's a hope to offer to so many, that there is hope for them too. It's never too late. I started this career too in my 50s. I know we talked about it, and we talked about how it's never too late. And I love the generation we live in now, that, we can make changes to our health and our career at any time.
Yep, definitely. Are there a certain range of people that you like to work with, or that the men, women, young, old?
We have programs for every age group.
Yeah.
Teens all the way up to, I've had people close to 80 in our program that I've helped, and they feel amazing. I have one woman who plays racquetball, and she's felt better. I have another client who mid-50s like me, and she hikes, and she's back out hiking. She's bought a downhill ski pass this year that she hasn't bought in years.
Wow.
The stories that I get to hear, and that I have the privilege of partnering with these people to be some small change in their life, it's amazing.
Wow, yeah. So men, women, a lot of times people think, oh, I hear this a lot. I'm 70, or they're getting the late 60s or 70s, and they're like, so that's one population. I'm saying, oh, but you've never tried doing this. You've never taken it this seriously and worked with a coach. And then I get people in menopause. They tend to be challenging, or people who have yo-yo diet. They've always been overweight and they really think there's no hope. They don't realize maybe that it will take them longer because of some, that they may have a predisposition like you do with sugar. There's probably something genetic going on behind the scene, or maybe damage that's been done that needs to heal and will take a little bit longer for the body to get going. Right. So you really can work with a range of people.
We can, and we do. We also have nutrition support that we call on. We give them information to take to their doctors to make sure that we don't, if they have a lot of different medical issues, we want to make sure the doctor's comfortable with it, that it's safe for them. But I love the fact that we also do work with the mind piece, because it's so important as to why they're doing what they're doing. But I have my coach, for example, has been at this for almost 8 years. She calls herself a yo-yo dieter. She has been up and down many times, and she has been able to sustain the weight loss on our program. Not perfectly, but it's not about staying at a number, right? She has kept most of it off, but she has the tools. She knows how to pull back. We talk about a weight range that, like 2 to 5 pounds or something. And that's individual. I only give myself 2 pounds, and then I go, wait a minute, what am I doing? I look at my portion sizes again. Is that getting out of control? Am I mindlessly eating, or am I just filling my plate, without thinking about it? Right. It's really important to be mindful.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have some really good structure now in your life and what you do.
Yes. I believe I do.
Speaking of that, we're almost out of time, and I like to ask my guests at the end of the show, since it's the Totally Well show, what are the top 3 things it takes in your life to be totally well?
So for me, it's the proper balanced nutrition, exercise. I like to get the dog out walking. And since I have him, I have no choice. Water. There's so many pieces, and personal development. That has really come into a big play in this as well.
What do you do for personal development? What kinds of things?
A range of things. Atomic Habits is on my shelf to read. In fact, I am flying out to Phoenix in a couple weeks, and that is the book that I've chosen to read on that airplane ride.
Oh, fun. I got it on Audible because I would never read it if I had to sit and read it and not be moving around, because I like to move around.
That's why it's going to be for an airplane ride for me.
That's a good plan. I love how you've prepared for this as well.
Thank you.
So, and then, like you said, the particular foods that you have, you've got things kind of mapped out for your meals.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and hear how you're helping people. And so reach out to Megan on Facebook at MC Doehring. I'm saying it wrong.
Doehring.
Doehring.
It's okay.
Because it says D-O-E, so you'll remember like Doehring. Doehring, MC Doehring on Facebook. Or get in touch with me if you can't find her, and I'll make sure you do.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, Joyce. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.